for the truth that always finds the light.
The hospital ceiling had exactly 47 water stains. I'd counted them twice while waiting for the morphine to wear off, wondering if this was rock bottom or just another stop on the way down. The appendectomy had gone fine, the surgeon assured me, but the real surgery was happening to my life outside these sterile walls. My phone buzzed against the metal bed rail. A text from Chuck Rivers, my father-in-law and boss at Rivers Logistics. Ben, effective immediately, your employment is terminated. We're restructuring. Your final check will be mailed. Restructuring. Right. More like Chuck finally found his excuse to cut the blue-collar son-in-law who never quite fit into his pristine corporate world. Firing a man recovering from emergency surgery took real class. Rough day? The voice came from the bed next to mine. A woman in her mid-40s with sharp eyes and graying hair, pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore the same hospital gown as me, but somehow made it look like a business suit. Just got fired via text message, I said, holding up my phone. While recovering from surgery, my father-in-law's company. She whistled low. Chuck Rivers? That pompous... A runs Rivers Logistics into the ground while blaming everyone else. I'm Olivia Grant, CEO of Coastal Freight Solutions. Chuck's biggest competitor. I almost laughed. Ben Mallory, former logistics manager, apparently. Former Marine, too, if I had to guess. You've got that bearing. She studied me with the intensity of someone used to reading people quickly. Chuck's an idiot for letting you go. I've heard good things about your work from industry contacts. Thanks, but my reputation might be a little tainted now. By association with Chuck? That's a selling point in my book. Olivia shifted in her bed to face me directly. I'm serious, Ben. When you're ready to get back to work, call me. Coastal could use someone with your experience and integrity. She handed me a business card from her bedside table. Real paper, expensive stock. The kind Chuck always claimed was wasteful, but secretly envied. Why would you help me? Because Chuck Rivers screwed over my company in a bid dispute last year using some creative contract interpretation. And because anyone he fires this callously is probably someone I want on my team. I pocketed the card. I might take you up on that. I hope you do. Men like Chuck think they can treat people like disposable assets. Sometimes they need to learn otherwise. The way she said it made me think Olivia Grant knew something about revenge. The house felt different when I walked through the front door 3 days later. Not just the usual neglect that had crept in over the past year, but something colder, more distant, like the building itself had taken sides. Dad's home, I called out, setting down my discharge papers and the small bag of personal items from the hospital. Silence. Fiona emerged from the kitchen, looking immaculate as always in her gray business suit. Even at home, she dressed like she was heading to court, which, as a corporate attorney, she usually was. How are you feeling? She asked, the concern in her voice sounding rehearsed. Like I got fired while recovering from surgery. Funny thing about that timing. She had the grace to look uncomfortable. Daddy said the company needed to make cuts. It wasn't personal. Your father fired me via text message, Fiona, while I was in a hospital bed. How is that not personal? You're being dramatic. He's been under tremendous pressure with the Hartley Industries contract falling through. I stared at my wife of 15 years. When had she started calling Chuck Daddy again? When we were dating, she'd rolled her eyes at his corporate machismo. Now she defended him like a loyal employee. Where's Lily? At soccer practice. I'll pick her up later. Our 13-year-old daughter had been the bright spot in an increasingly dark marriage. At least she still seemed genuinely happy to see me, unlike her mother who looked at me these days like I was a disappointing quarterly report. I got a job offer, I said. Olivia Grant from Coastal Freight Solutions wants to hire me. Fiona's face went pale. Coastal? They're Daddy's biggest competitor. I know, funny how that worked out. You can't be serious about working for them. Why not? Your father made it clear he doesn't value my contributions. Maybe Olivia will. This could destroy Daddy's relationship with the Hartley account if they think we have inside information. When had Fiona started thinking of herself as part of Rivers Logistics instead of part of our marriage? That's Chuck's problem, not mine. She stepped closer, and for a moment I thought she might actually touch me. Show some physical affection for the first time in months? Instead, she straightened my shirt collar with the efficiency of someone adjusting a mannequin. Please think about this carefully, Ben. There are bigger things at stake than your pride. Like what? Like our family, like Lily's future, like the life we've built. I looked around our living room, expensive furniture that Fiona had chosen, art that her mother had selected. Even the books on the shelves were mostly hers. What exactly had I built here besides the mortgage payments? I'll think about it, I lied. That night, Fiona went to bed early, claiming she had a big case to prepare for. I stayed up watching television, nursing a beer, and thinking about Olivia's offer. Around midnight, I heard Fiona's phone buzzing from the kitchen counter where she'd left it charging. The screen lit up with a text preview. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. A T. T. I didn't know anyone in our social circle whose name started with T. But then again, I was starting to realize I didn't know much about my wife's social circle anymore. I went to bed wondering who T was and why they were texting my wife at midnight. The next morning, Fiona rushed out early for a client breakfast. She forgot her phone again, leaving it on the kitchen counter next to her untouched coffee. The woman who never went anywhere without her device suddenly couldn't remember to take it 2 days in a row. I stared at the phone for 10 minutes, wrestling with myself. Checking your spouse's phone was a violation of trust, but what trust was left to violate? The lock screen showed 3 more messages from T sent after midnight. Thinking about yesterday afternoon. Can't concentrate on work. F, you're incredible. F, as in Fiona. My hands shook as I tried to guess her passcode. Our anniversary? No. Lily's birthday? No. Her own birthday? No. Then I remembered. Chuck's birthday. The great man himself. It worked. The phone opened to a conversation thread that made my stomach drop into my surgical site. Messages going back 3 months. Explicit photos I recognized from our own bedroom, except I hadn't been the one receiving them. Plans for afternoon meetings at the usual place. References to how T couldn't wait until Ben's out of the picture. T was Trent Wallace. I recognized him from Fiona's law firm's Christmas party. Sleek hair, expensive suits, the kind of confident smile that came from never being told no. He was a sales director at Morrison Klein & Associates, where Fiona worked as a senior associate. I scrolled through months of messages, each one a small knife twist. They'd been careful, mostly. No names, no specific locations. But the context was clear. My wife was having an affair, and they were planning for a future that didn't include me. One message thread caught my attention. Trent. Hannah says she can help with the Ben situation. Fiona. How? Trent? She has ideas, trust me. Hannah. Fiona's best friend since law school, now an HR director at a consulting firm downtown. Sweet, helpful Hannah, who always asked about my work and seemed so interested in my relationship with Chuck. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself from Fiona's phone, then deleted the sent message. When she realized her phone was unlocked, she probably changed the password, but I had what I needed now. The house felt even emptier when I put the phone back exactly where she'd left it. 15 years of marriage, and I'd been reduced to a problem to be solved by my wife and her lover. My own phone rang. Olivia Grant. Ben, I hope I'm not calling too early. I wanted to follow up on our conversation. Actually, your timing is perfect. When can I start? Coastal Freight Solutions occupied a converted warehouse in the industrial district, all exposed brick and polished concrete floors. It felt honest in a way that Chuck's glass and chrome office never had. Real work happened here. Olivia's office overlooked the loading docks where trucks came and went in a carefully orchestrated dance of logistics. She was reviewing manifests when her assistant showed me in. Ben, you look better than you did in the hospital gown. I feel better. Amazing what getting fired can do for your motivation. She laughed. I've been there. When I started Coastal 10 years ago, it was after my previous employer decided my ideas were too aggressive for a woman in logistics. Turns out aggressive was exactly what the market needed. We spent the morning going over Coastal's operations. Olivia had built something impressive, a lean, efficient company that had grown by taking contracts Chuck's bloated operation couldn't handle. She offered me a position as operations director, with a salary that matched what I'd been making at Rivers, plus a performance bonus structure. There's one thing you should know, she said as we shook hands on the deal. Chuck's going to see this as a declaration of war. He's already been spreading rumors that I poached you while you were vulnerable. Let him. I'm done worrying about Chuck Rivers' feelings. Good. Because I have a feeling this is going to get interesting. That evening, I told Lily about the new job over pizza. At 13, she had her mother's sharp intelligence, but hadn't yet learned to hide her emotions behind corporate politeness. Will you be happier at the new place? She asked. I think so. Why? You've seemed sad lately. Mom, too. Like you're both angry about something but pretending not to be. Kids see everything. Things have been stressful with work and money, but this new job should help. Is that why you and Mom don't talk anymore? The question hit harder than I expected. What do you mean? You used to laugh together, tell jokes. Now you just talk about schedules and bills and who's picking me up from school. She was right. When had Fiona and I stopped being friends? When had our conversations become purely transactional? Sometimes adults go through rough patches, I said, but we both love you very much. I know, I just wish you loved each other too. That night, Fiona came home late from another client dinner. She barely acknowledged my news about the coastal job, just nodded and went upstairs to shower. I heard her on the phone in our bedroom, voice low and urgent. I was washing dishes when she came back downstairs in her robe, hair still damp. Daddy's not happy about coastal, she said. I figured. He thinks you're doing this to hurt him. I'm doing this to support our family. Chuck made his choice when he fired me. She leaned against the counter, studying me. This isn't like you, Ben. You've never been vindictive. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Guilt? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just tired of being the understanding one, the one who takes whatever Chuck dishes out and says thank you. He's family. He's your family. He made it clear I'm just an employee. Was an employee. Fiona opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married, vulnerable, uncertain. Then the mask slipped back into place. I'm going to bed. Early day tomorrow. Another client breakfast? Yes. With anyone I know? The pause was barely perceptible. Just work people. I finished the dishes and went to my home office, a converted spare bedroom where I paid bills and managed our finances. All our accounts were joint, set up years ago when we trusted each other completely. I'd never paid much attention to the credit card statements beyond making sure the payments were current. Now I looked closer. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. A hotel in Portland last month when Fiona said she was at a legal conference in Boston. Purchases at Victoria's Secret when she'd been wearing the same practical underwear around me for months. I printed everything and put it in a folder. Evidence. The word felt strange, like something from one of the legal thrillers Fiona used to read. But that's what this was becoming. A case to be built, piece by piece. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Welcome to Coastal. Looking forward to working with you. Hannah Morrison. Hannah Morrison. Hannah, with the married name I'd forgotten. Hannah, who worked in HR and had ideas about the Ben situation. I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it. My first week at Coastal was a revelation. Olivia ran her company like a precision instrument, with clear expectations and direct communication. No corporate doublespeak, no political maneuvering. When someone had a problem, they solved it. When they needed resources, they asked for them. It reminded me why I'd loved logistics in the first place, the satisfaction of making complex systems work smoothly. You're smiling, Olivia observed on Friday afternoon as we reviewed the week's performance metrics. It's been a while since I enjoyed going to work. Chuck really did a number on you, didn't he? Chuck was just the beginning. She raised an eyebrow but didn't push. Olivia was good at reading people, and she'd probably figured out that my problems went beyond my former employer. That evening, I stopped by Murphy's Tavern, a blue-collar bar near the docks where I'd started going after work. It was the opposite of the wine bars Fiona preferred. Dim lighting, honest drinks, and conversations about real things instead of billable hours and client development. I was nursing a beer and reading the news on my phone when someone slid into the booth across from me. Ben Mallory? I looked up to see a man about my age with graying hair and calloused hands. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. Do we know each other? Tommy Brennan. We went to high school together. I heard you were working at Coastal now. Tommy? Right. He'd been a year behind me, played football, worked construction after graduation. Good to see you, Tommy. Yeah? I just started at Coastal this week. Must be weird going from Rivers to their biggest competitor. It's been interesting. Tommy signaled the bartender for a beer. My cousin Danny works at Rivers, says Chuck's been losing his mind since you left. Apparently, you took some big client relationships with you. I hadn't taken anything except my personal contacts and industry knowledge, but Chuck would see it as theft. I'm just doing my job. Danny says Chuck's been asking questions about your personal life, too, like he's looking for dirt. That was concerning, but not surprising. Chuck had always been vindictive when crossed. What kind of questions? Your marriage, your finances, whether you've been acting strange lately. Danny told him to mind his own business, but you know how Chuck is. I knew exactly how Chuck was. He'd use any weakness he could find, and right now I had plenty of those. Thanks for the heads up. No problem. Us high school guys got to stick together, right? After Tommy left, I sat thinking about Chuck's investigation. What would he find if he dug deep enough? A husband whose wife was cheating, whose marriage was falling apart, whose teenage daughter was starting to see through the facade of family happiness. All things that could be used against me if Chuck wanted to play dirty. My phone buzzed. A text from Fiona. Working late again? Don't wait up. Working late. Right. I paid my tab and drove across town to Morrison, Klein and Associates. The law firm occupied 3 floors of a downtown office building, all glass and marble and expensive furniture designed to impress clients. Fiona's BMW was in the parking garage, along with a silver Porsche I recognized from the firm's Christmas party. Trent's car. I parked where I could see both vehicles and waited. This was probably pathetic, sitting in a parking garage spying on my own wife, but I needed to see it with my own eyes. The phone messages could be explained away, rationalized, dismissed as misunderstandings. This couldn't. At 9:30, they emerged from the elevator together. Fiona looked relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in months, laughing at something Trent was saying. He had his hand on her lower back, possessive and familiar. They stopped between their cars, and I watched my wife of 15 years kiss another man with a passion she hadn't shown me in over a year. Not a quick peck or a friendly goodbye. A real kiss, full of promise and desire. When they finally broke apart, Trent said something that made Fiona laugh again. She got in her car and drove away, probably to come home and tell me about her difficult evening of depositions and contract reviews. I followed Trent instead. He lived in Harbor View condos, a luxury development overlooking the water, the kind of place that cost more per month than most people made in a year. I watched him park in the underground garage and take the elevator up to what the building directory listed as the penthouse level. Trent Wallace, sales director, living like a millionaire. Either Morrison, Klein and Associates paid their sales staff very well, or Trent had other sources of income. I was about to leave when I noticed another familiar car in the garage. A white Mercedes with the license plate Hannah 1, Hannah Morrison, Fiona's best friend, and Trent's apparent co-conspirator. The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't like. Saturday morning, Fiona announced she was going shopping with Hannah. Girl time, she said, kissing my cheek with the same lips that had been on Trent Wallace 2 nights earlier. Have fun, I said, not looking up from my coffee. After she left, I called Lily down from her room. Want to go to the batting cages? Her face lit up. Really? You hate baseball. I hate watching baseball. Playing baseball is different. We spent 2 hours at the sports complex, and for a while I almost forgot about cheating wives and corporate politics. Lily had a natural swing and the competitive drive she'd inherited from both her parents. She was going to be formidable when she grew up. Dad, can I ask you something? Shoot. Are you and Mom getting divorced? The question hit me like a fastball to the chest. Why would you ask that? Kids at school. Their parents got divorced, and they said it started the same way. Parents not talking, working late all the time, sleeping in separate rooms. Separate rooms. Fiona had been sleeping in the guest room for 3 weeks, claiming my post-surgery snoring was keeping her awake. I hadn't realized Lily had noticed. Your mom and I are going through some problems, I said carefully. But whatever happens, we both love you more than anything. That's what all the divorced parents say. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Let's focus on your batting stance. You're dropping your shoulder. That evening, Fiona came home with shopping bags from expensive stores and a story about running into old friends at the mall. She was animated, happy, glowing in a way that had nothing to do with retail therapy. How was your day with Lily? She asked. Good, we talked. About what? She asked if we were getting divorced. Fiona went very still. What did you tell her? The truth. That we're having problems. Ben, she's 13. She doesn't need to know about our private issues. She's 13, not stupid. She sees everything. We need to be more careful around her. More careful. Not work on our problems, not try to fix what was broken. Just hide it better. Maybe we should talk about what's really going on, I said. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time we were honest with each other. Something flickered in her eyes. Honest about what? This was my chance. I could confront her about Trent, about the messages, about everything I'd discovered, force the issue and see where it led. Instead, I said, about whether this marriage is worth saving. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table. Is that what you want? To end things? I want to know what you want, Fiona, because lately it feels like you want to be anywhere but here. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you seemed happy to see me come home? She was quiet for a long moment. Things have been strained since you lost your job. I didn't lose my job. Your father fired me. You know what I mean? Do I? Because it feels like you're blaming me for Chuck's decision. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying that stress affects relationships. And what about before I got fired? We've been drifting apart for over a year. She looked down at her hands. Maybe we have. So what do we do about it? I don't know. At least that was honest. Maybe we should try counseling. Maybe. But I could tell she was just saying what she thought I wanted to hear. Her heart wasn't in it. Her heart was with Trent Wallace in his penthouse condo. That night, I lay in our empty bed listening to Fiona moving around in the guest room. The house felt like a hotel where strangers happened to be staying in adjacent rooms. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We should meet. There are things you need to know about your situation. A friend. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. Who is this? Someone who knows what Hannah and Trent are really planning. Murphy's Tavern tomorrow at 8. I deleted the conversation and tried to sleep, but my mind kept racing. Who else knew about the affair? And what did they mean about Hannah and Trent's plans? Murphy's Tavern was busy for a Sunday night, filled with dock workers and warehouse employees unwinding after their shifts. I arrived early and took a corner booth where I could watch the door. At exactly 8 p.m., a woman in her 30s walked in, scanning the room until she spotted me. She was attractive in a professional way, with short blonde hair, and the kind of confident posture that came from working in corporate environments. Ben Mallory? She slid into the booth across from me. I'm Jessica Chen. I work at Morrison, Klein & Associates, the law firm where Fiona and Trent worked. You sent the text. I did. We need to talk. About what? She looked around the bar, then leaned forward. About what your wife and Trent Wallace are planning, and about Hannah Morrison's role in all of it. I'm listening. I'm a paralegal at the firm. I work closely with the associates on document preparation and case research, including your wife. And Fiona's been having me research divorce law, asset protection, custody arrangements, spousal support calculations. She told me it was for a client, but the financial details match your situation exactly. My stomach dropped. How do you know my financial situation? Because Hannah Morrison has been providing information. She works in HR consulting, remember? She has access to employment records, salary information, background checks. She's been feeding Fiona data about your new job at Coastal, your relationship with Olivia Grant, even your military service record. Why are you telling me this? Jessica's expression hardened. Because I don't like being lied to, and because what they're planning isn't just divorce, it's character assassination. What do you mean? Hannah's been building a file on you, painting you as unstable, vindictive, possibly dangerous. The story they're crafting is that you took the Coastal job specifically to hurt Chuck Rivers, that you've been acting erratically since your surgery, that you might be a threat to Lily. The room seemed to tilt around me. That's insane. Is it? Think about it from a family court judge's perspective. Husband gets fired, immediately goes to work for his former boss's biggest competitor, starts acting secretive and paranoid. Wife fears for her safety and her daughter's well-being. I haven't done anything threatening. Haven't you? What about following Trent to his condo, checking Fiona's phone, sitting in parking garages, watching them? I stared at her. How do you know about that? Because they know. Hannah has a friend who works security at Harborview condos. They've been tracking your movements. This was worse than I'd imagined. Not only was I being cheated on, I was being set up. Why are you helping me? Because I've seen Hannah Morrison destroy people before. She did it at her last job, and she's doing it again now. She gets off on manipulating situations, playing puppet master. What's her endgame? Trent's got money problems. His lifestyle costs more than he makes, and he's been embezzling from client accounts to cover expenses. Hannah's been helping him hide it, but they need a bigger score. Your divorce settlement would solve their problems. What settlement? I don't have that kind of money. You have equity in the house, your 401k, your new salary at Coastal. Plus, if Fiona gets primary custody of Lily, you'll be paying child support. And if they can paint you as the villain in the divorce, Fiona might get spousal support too. I felt sick. How much do you know about their plan? Enough. Hannah's been coaching Fiona on how to document your erratic behavior. They're planning to file for divorce next month, right after Fiona gets her annual bonus. She'll claim she feared for her safety but stayed for financial security. And Trent will be the supportive friend who helped her through a difficult time. They'll wait a respectable period before going public with their relationship. I sat back in the booth, trying to process everything. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought you deserved to know what you're up against. There has to be something. People don't risk their jobs to help strangers. Jessica was quiet for a moment. Hannah cost me a promotion last year. She spread rumors that I was sleeping with one of the partners, made it impossible for me to advance. I've been waiting for a chance to return the favor. And this is it? This is it. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Copies of everything I could get. Financial records, emails, research requests. Use it wisely. Jessica, if this gets out, they'll know it came from you. Let me worry about that. Just promise me you won't do anything stupid. Like what? Like confronting them directly, like making threats, like giving them ammunition for their character assassination campaign. She was right. My first instinct was to go home and have it out with Fiona, to demand the truth and force her to admit what she was planning. But that would only play into their narrative. What would you do? I asked. I'd be smarter than they are. I'd let them think their plan was working while I built a better one. After Jessica left, I sat in the bar for another hour, reading through the documents she'd given me. It was all there. Fiona's research into divorce law, Hannah's background checks on me, even email exchanges between Trent and Hannah about timing and strategy. They'd been planning this for months, carefully building their case, while I'd been worried about job security and marriage counseling. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated me. I wasn't the unstable, vindictive man they were portraying. I was a former Marine who'd spent years solving complex logistical problems under pressure. And now, I had a problem to solve. The next morning, I called in sick to Coastal and drove to downtown Portland to see a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but Patricia Valdez, the best divorce attorney in the state, according to online reviews. If Fiona was preparing for war, I needed my own general. Patricia's office was in a converted Victorian mansion, all dark wood and leather-bound books. She was a small woman with steel gray hair and the kind of direct gaze that probably made opposing counsel nervous. Mr. Mallory, what can I do for you? I handed her Jessica's envelope. I need to know what my options are. She spent 20 minutes reading through the documents, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When she finished, she looked up with something that might have been respect. This is quite comprehensive. How did you obtain these documents? A concerned friend. I see. Well, the good news is that your wife and her associates have given you significant advantages. The bad news is that they're not wrong about some aspects of Maine divorce law. Explain. Maine is an equitable distribution state, which means marital assets are divided fairly, not necessarily equally. If your wife can demonstrate that your recent job change was motivated by spite rather than necessity, she might argue for a larger share of assets as compensation. Even though her father fired me, family relationships complicate things. A judge might view your move to a competitor as escalatory. What about the affair? Maine is a no-fault divorce state. Infidelity doesn't typically affect asset division, though it might influence custody decisions if it can be shown to affect the child's well-being. And if they succeed in painting me as unstable, then you could lose primary custody and face significant support obligations. I leaned back in the leather chair. So they might actually win. They might, if you play by their rules, Patricia smiled. But there are other rules to consider, such as fraud, for instance. If Mr. Wallace has been embezzling from client accounts, that's a criminal matter. It would certainly affect his credibility and might implicate your wife if she's been aware of it. How would I prove that? You'd need financial records, bank statements, evidence of lifestyle exceeding legitimate income, the kind of information that might be available through discovery in a divorce proceeding or other means. I didn't hear that, but her smile suggested she had. We spent another hour discussing strategy. Patricia was expensive, but she was also thorough. By the time I left her office, I had a plan that went far beyond simply defending myself. That afternoon, I stopped by Coastal to check in with Olivia. She was in her office reviewing contracts, but looked up when I knocked. "Ben, feeling better?" "Much. Sorry about calling in." "No problem. Actually, I'm glad you're here. I wanted to discuss the Hartley Industries opportunity." Hartley Industries? Chuck's white whale. The contract that had been slipping away from Rivers Logistics for months. What about it? They're reopening the bidding process. Apparently, they weren't satisfied with any of the initial proposals, including Chuck's. This was interesting. Are we going to bid? I was thinking about it. We'd need someone with experience in their industry vertical, someone who understands their specific logistics challenges. Someone like me. Exactly like you. I thought about Chuck's reaction when he learned that not only had I joined his biggest competitor, but I was now competing for his most important potential contract. When's the deadline? 2 weeks? Are you interested? Very. That evening, I came home to find Fiona in the kitchen, making dinner and humming softly to herself. She seemed genuinely happy, more relaxed than I'd seen her in months. "Good day?" I asked. "Very good. We won the Morrison case, and I got assigned to the new pharmaceutical client." "Congratulations. How are you feeling? You looked a little pale this morning." "Just tired. Still recovering, I think." She nodded sympathetically. "It takes time. You should take care of yourself." The concern in her voice sounded genuine, which made it worse somehow. This was the woman I'd fallen in love with, the one who'd worried about me through deployment and celebrated my successes like they were her own. Now she was planning to destroy me while making dinner and asking about my health. "Fiona, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you ever think about what our life might have been like if we'd made different choices?" She paused in her stirring. "What kind of different choices?" "I don't know. Different careers, different places to live, different people to marry." "That's a strange question." "Is it? Don't you ever wonder?" She turned to face me, studying my expression. "Sometimes. But wondering isn't the same as wanting." "Isn't it?" "Ben, what's this really about?" I could tell her. Right now, I could lay everything on the table and force the confrontation that was coming anyway. But Patricia's advice echoed in my head. Let them think their plan was working. Nothing specific, just thinking about roads not taken. Well, I like the road we're on. The lie came so easily that I almost believed she meant it. After dinner, I helped Lily with her homework while Fiona worked in her home office. Around 9, she emerged with her briefcase and car keys. "I need to run to the office for a few hours. There's a brief due tomorrow morning." "This late?" "You know how it is. The law doesn't keep business hours." She kissed my cheek and left, and I watched from the window as she drove away, toward downtown, where Trent Wallace was probably waiting in his penthouse condo. I tucked Lily into bed and went to my own office, where I spread out the Hartley Industries files Olivia had given me. If I was going to compete with Chuck for this contract, I needed to understand exactly what they were looking for. But as I read through the requirements, I kept thinking about Fiona's lie. How easily she'd delivered it, how practiced she'd become at deception. Tomorrow, I decided, it was time to start lying back. The next morning, I called Patricia Valdez's office and hired her officially. Then I drove to the bank and opened a personal checking account, transferring exactly half of our joint savings. Not enough to trigger fraud allegations, but enough to ensure I had resources they couldn't freeze. At Coastal, I threw myself into the Hartley Industries proposal with the intensity of a man whose future depended on it, which in many ways it did. Landing this contract wouldn't just be a professional victory. It would be a direct blow to Chuck Rivers and everything he represented. Olivia found me in the conference room at lunchtime, surrounded by spreadsheets and logistics charts. "You know you don't have to solve this today," she said. "I want to get it right. It's more than that. This is personal for you." I looked up from the cost analysis I'd been reviewing. Is that a problem? Not as long as personal motivation leads to professional excellence, but be careful, Ben. Revenge is a dish best served with plausible deniability. Meaning? Meaning if we win this contract, it should be because we're the best choice, not because you have inside knowledge of Chuck's weaknesses. She was right, of course. But she was also wrong about one thing. I didn't need inside knowledge of Chuck's weaknesses. I'd lived with them for 5 years. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. "Coffee tomorrow? We should talk." J. Jessica. I responded with a time and place. A small cafe near the waterfront, far from both Morrison, Klein, and Associates and Coastal Freight Solutions. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a clear view of the entrance. Professional paranoia, the kind that came from working in environments where information was currency. "You look better," she said as I sat down. "I feel better. Amazing what having a plan can do." "What kind of plan?" I told her about Patricia Valdez, about the bank account, about the Hartley Industries contract. She listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding. "You're playing a dangerous game," she said when I finished. "They started it. That's not going to matter if things go wrong. Hannah's been documenting everything. Your behavior changes, your new job, your financial moves. From her perspective, you're proving her narrative. What would you do differently?" "I'd be more subtle. Right now, you're reacting to their moves. That makes you predictable." "So I should just wait for them to destroy me?" "You should make them destroy themselves." She slid a flash drive across the table. "Trent's been sloppy with his computer security. These are his personal financial records going back 2 years. I pocketed the drive. "How did you get this?" "Better you don't know, but Ben, once you look at what's on there, you can't unknow it, and you can't use it without risking criminal charges yourself." "What kind of criminal charges?" "The kind that come from using illegally obtained evidence. The kind that would prove Hannah's point about you being unstable and vindictive." I understood. The information was valuable, but using it directly would backfire. "So what good is it?" "It tells you what to look for through legitimate means. Financial patterns, account numbers, business relationships, things that might come up in discovery or public record searches." After Jessica left, I sat in the cafe for another hour, thinking about her warning. She was right about the risks, but she was also giving me exactly what I needed to turn the tables. That evening, Fiona came home early for once, carrying takeout from our favorite Thai restaurant. She'd even remembered to get the extra spicy pad Thai I preferred. "What's the occasion?" I asked. "Do I need an occasion to have dinner with my husband?" Husband. When had she stopped calling me that in casual conversation? We ate at the kitchen table while Lily told us about her day at school. For a few minutes, it felt almost normal, like we were still a family instead of 3 people going through the motions. "Ben, I've been thinking about what you said yesterday," Fiona said after Lily went upstairs to do homework. "What about it?" "About different choices, different roads." "Maybe you're right. Maybe we should talk about what we both want." This was it. The opening she'd been building toward. "What do you want, Fiona?" "I want us to be honest with each other. About our problems, about our feelings, about where this marriage is heading." "Okay, you first." She took a deep breath. "I think we've grown apart, not because of anything either of us did wrong, but because we want different things now." "What kind of different things?" "You want stability, predictability, a quiet life with steady work and family dinners. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what I want anymore." "What do you want?" "Challenge, growth, the chance to build something bigger than what we have now." "And you can't build that with me?" "I don't think so. I think we bring out each other's limitations instead of each other's potential." It was a masterful performance. Reasonable, thoughtful, even kind. She was positioning herself as the mature one, the one willing to have difficult conversations for the good of everyone involved. "So what are you suggesting?" "Maybe we should consider a trial separation. Give ourselves space to figure out what we really want." "What about Lily?" "We'd work out a custody arrangement that's best for her. Shared time, both of us staying involved in her life. And financially, we'd be fair. Split things equitably, make sure we're both stable." I nodded as if I were considering it. It's a lot to think about. It is, but Ben, I think we owe it to ourselves and to Lily to be honest about what's not working. "You're probably right." She looked relieved. "So you'll think about it." "I'll think about it." That night, after Fiona went to bed, I plugged Jessica's flash drive into my laptop. What I found there was even worse than I'd expected. Trent Wallace wasn't just living beyond his means. He was running a sophisticated embezzlement scheme through client accounts at Morrison, Klein, and Associates. Fake billing, inflated expenses, kickbacks from vendors. Over the past 2 years, he'd stolen nearly $200,000. And according to the bank records, Fiona had been helping him hide it. The next morning, I called Patricia Valdez and scheduled an emergency meeting. Then I drove to her office with printouts of everything on Jessica's flash drive. "This changes everything," Patricia said after reviewing the documents. "How so?" "If your wife has been participating in embezzlement, she's committed multiple felonies. That affects everything from custody to asset division to her ability to practice law. But we can't use this directly, can we? Not without risking criminal charges ourselves, but we can use it to guide our investigation. Financial forensics, subpoenas of bank records, questions about lifestyle and income sources. What about the timing? That's the beautiful part. Let them file for divorce first. Let them make their accusations about your character and stability. Then, during discovery, we'll uncover their financial crimes. It will look like we stumbled across it naturally. And if they don't file, then we wait. But based on what you've told me, they're planning to move soon." I was right. That afternoon, Fiona called me at work. "Ben, I've been thinking about our conversation last night. I think we should move forward with the separation." "Already?" "I know it seems fast, but I think prolonging things will just make it harder for all of us." "What did you have in mind?" "I've spoken to a lawyer. Nothing adversarial, just to understand our options. She says we can file for an uncontested divorce if we agree on the major issues." "What lawyer?" "Someone Hannah recommended. Sarah Chen. She specializes in family law." Chen. Probably related to Jessica. The legal community in Maine was smaller than most people realized. "I'd want to have my own lawyer review anything we agree to." "Of course, that's completely reasonable." "And we'd need to work out custody, support, all of that." "Right. But Ben, I'm hoping we can keep this civilized. For Lily's sake. Civilized. While she was planning to take me for everything I was worth." "When were you thinking of filing?" "Soon. Maybe next week." "That's very soon." "I know. But I think it's better to move quickly once we've made the decision." After I hung up, I called Patricia and told her about Fiona's timeline. "Perfect," she said. "Let her file first. Let her set the narrative. Then we'll destroy it piece by piece." That evening, I had a different kind of conversation with Lily. We were in the backyard throwing a baseball back and forth as the sun set behind the trees. "Mom says you guys are getting divorced," she said, catching my throw with practiced ease. "She told you that?" "She sat me down this afternoon, said it was better for me to hear it from her than from lawyers or court papers." "Smart. Get to Lily first, control the message." "How do you feel about it?" "Sad, but not surprised." She threw the ball back harder than necessary. "Are you going to fight her?" "What do you mean?" "In court, for custody and money and stuff. That's what happened with Jake Morrison's parents. They fought for 2 years. I'm going to make sure I can still be your dad, whatever that takes." "Good, because I don't want to choose sides." "You won't have to." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. Fiona and her allies were going to force Lily to choose, just like they'd forced me to fight back. That night, Fiona worked late again. I used the time to finalize the Hartley Industries proposal. If I was going into battle, I wanted every advantage I could get. The proposal was good, better than good. It addressed every requirement in their RFP and offered solutions Chuck's team probably hadn't even considered. If Coastal won this contract, it would be a major blow to Rivers Logistics. Around midnight, I heard Fiona's car in the driveway. She came in quietly, probably thinking I was asleep. I listened to her moving around downstairs, then heading up to the guest room. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "They're filing tomorrow. Hannah's been coaching Fiona on what to say to the judge about your behavior. Be ready." I was ready, more ready than they knew. The divorce papers were served at my office the next morning. A sheriff's deputy walked into Coastal Freight Solutions at 9 a.m. sharp, asked for Ben Mallory, and handed me an envelope that would change everything. Olivia appeared at my office door as the deputy left. "Everything okay?" "My wife just filed for divorce." "I'm sorry, Ben. Are you going to be able to focus on work?" "Work might be the only thing keeping me sane right now." She nodded. "Take whatever time you need. And Ben, the Hartley Industries proposal is excellent. We're submitting it this afternoon." At least something was going right. I spent my lunch break at Patricia Valdez's office, reviewing Fiona's filing. It was even worse than I'd expected. She's asking for primary custody, the house, spousal support, and 60% of all marital assets, Patricia said. "On what grounds?" "She claims you've become increasingly unstable since losing your job. Paranoid, vindictive, possibly dangerous. She says she's afraid to be alone with you. That's insane. It's also well documented, according to her filing. Strange behavior, following her and her friends, making threats about her family. I never made any threats. Did you tell her that her father would regret firing you? I thought back to our kitchen conversation weeks ago. I might have said something like that. And did you follow Trent Wallace to his residence? I was trying to understand what was happening in my marriage, which a judge might interpret as stalking behavior. I sat back in the leather chair, feeling the walls close in. So she might actually win. She might, if we play defense. Patricia smiled. But we're not playing defense. What do you mean? I mean, we're going to give the court something more interesting to focus on than your alleged behavioral problems. That afternoon, I called Lily at school and asked her to meet me at Murphy's Tavern after her soccer practice. It wasn't the kind of place I'd normally take my 13-year-old daughter, but I needed somewhere Fiona wouldn't think to look for us. Lily arrived, still, in her soccer uniform, grass-stained and sweating. She looked so young. Too young to be dealing with her parents' war. Dad, are you okay? You sounded weird on the phone. I got the divorce papers today. Oh. She sat down across from me in the booth. Mom said she filed them. What else did she say? That you might try to turn me against her, that I should remember that you're angry and might not be thinking clearly. More narrative control. Paint me as the unstable one. Position herself as the reasonable parent protecting her child. Lily, I want you to know that whatever happens between your mom and me, it's not your fault, and I'm never going to ask you to choose sides. But she might. Smart kid. She might. And if she does, I want you to remember that you don't have to choose. You can love both of us, even if we can't love each other anymore. Do you hate her? The question caught me off guard. Did I hate Fiona, or was it something more complicated than that? I hate what she's doing. I hate the lies and the betrayal. But the person she used to be, the woman I married, I could never hate her. She's still the same person, Dad. Is she? Lily was quiet for a moment. I don't know. She seems different lately, happier, but also more, I don't know the word? Secretive? Yeah, like she's got some big secret that makes her happy. She did have a big secret. Several of them, in fact. Lily, if things get ugly between your mom and me, I want you to remember something. Whatever you hear about me, whatever anyone says, you know who I really am. You've lived with me for 13 years. Trust what you know. I will, Dad. But I could see the worry in her eyes. She was already being forced to choose sides, whether she wanted to or not. That evening, Fiona came home with Chinese takeout and a conciliatory smile. I thought we should have a family dinner, all three of us. Mom, Dad already told me about the divorce, Lily said. Fiona shot me a look. I was hoping we could discuss it together. There's not much to discuss, I said. You've made your position clear in the legal filing. Ben, I was hoping we could keep this civil. Civil? You're asking for 60% of our assets and claiming I'm dangerous. I'm protecting myself and Lily. From what? From the man you've become since you lost your job? And there it was. The narrative she'd been building, delivered with conviction and maternal concern. The man I've become? Or the man you need me to be to justify what you're doing? I don't know what you mean. Don't you? We stared at each other across the kitchen table while Lily picked at her lo mein, caught in the middle of a war she didn't understand. Maybe I should eat in my room, Lily said quietly. No, I said, stay. Your mother and I can be adults about this. But even as I said it, I knew we couldn't. The battle lines were drawn, and there was no going back. After dinner, Fiona retreated to her office while I helped Lily with homework. Around 9, Fiona emerged with her briefcase and coat. Working late again? I asked. Client crisis. I might be very late. Of course you might. She paused at the door. Ben, I know you're angry, but please don't take it out on Lily. I would never take anything out on Lily. I hope not. After she left, I sat in the living room thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The lies, the betrayal, the careful manipulation. Fiona had planned this perfectly, positioning herself as the sufferer and me as the villain. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated how much I was willing to fight back. My phone rang. Patricia Valdez. Ben, I have news. Sarah Chen, your wife's lawyer, she's Jessica Chen's sister. Is that a problem? It might be an opportunity. Jessica's been feeding us information about their strategy. Having her sister as opposing counsel could give us additional insights. Or it could backfire if they find out about Jessica's involvement. That's a risk, but Ben, I think it's time we stopped playing defense. What do you have in mind? Tomorrow we file our counterpetition, and we're going to give the court something very interesting to think about. Patricia's counterpetition was a work of art. Instead of simply defending against Fiona's accusations, it went on the offensive, alleging financial impropriety and demanding a full forensic accounting of all marital assets. You're accusing her of hiding money? I asked, reviewing the document in Patricia's office. I'm asking the court to ensure full financial disclosure, standard procedure in contentious divorces. But you know what we're looking for? I know what patterns to examine. The rest will come out in discovery. The petition also requested a psychological evaluation for both parties, citing concerns about Fiona's recent behavioral changes and possible substance misuse issues. Substance misuse? Those late nights, the mood swings, the financial irregularities could be explained by obsession issues. It was brilliant. Turn their own tactics against them, force them to defend instead of attack. We filed the counterpetition that afternoon. By evening, Sarah Chen had called Patricia demanding an emergency hearing. They're rattled, Patricia told me over the phone. Sarah's claiming our filing is retaliatory and abusive. Is that bad? It's exactly what we wanted. They're reacting emotionally instead of strategically. That night, Fiona came home early, her face flushed with anger. She found me in the kitchen making a sandwich for tomorrow's lunch. Substance misuse? She said without preamble. You're accusing me of substance misuse? I'm not accusing you of anything. My lawyer is asking for standard evaluations. This is exactly what I was talking about. You're being vindictive and cruel. I'm protecting myself, just like you are. I'm protecting our daughter from a man who's become paranoid and unstable. And I'm protecting our daughter from a woman who's been lying and stealing. The words were out before I could stop them. Fiona went very still. What did you say? Nothing. I'm just tired of being painted as the villain. You said stealing. What did you mean? I meant that you've been hiding things from me. Working late, secret phone calls, mysterious expenses. That's not stealing, isn't it? When you're planning to take 60% of our assets based on lies about my character? She studied my face carefully. Ben, what do you think you know? I know that you've been planning this divorce for months. I know that you've been building a case against me while pretending to work on our marriage. And how do you know that? Because I'm not stupid, Fiona, despite what you and your friends think. My friends. Hannah. Trent. The whole conspiracy to destroy my reputation and take everything I've worked for. Her face went pale. You're paranoid. You're proving my point. Am I? Or am I just finally seeing clearly? We stared at each other across the kitchen. 15 years of marriage reduced to mutual suspicion and barely contained hostility. I'm sleeping at Hannah's tonight, she said finally. Of course you are. After she left, I called Patricia and told her about the conversation. Good, she said. Let her run to Hannah. Let them panic and make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind that happen when guilty people think they're about to be exposed. The next morning, I got a call from Olivia at Coastal. Ben, I have news about Hartley Industries. Good news or bad news? The best news. We got the contract. They loved our proposal, especially the cost analysis and implementation timeline. I felt a surge of satisfaction that had nothing to do with professional pride. Chuck Rivers had just lost his white whale to the son-in-law he'd fired while recovering from surgery. When do we announce it? This afternoon. It'll be in all the trade publications by tomorrow. Which meant Chuck would know by tonight. I wondered how he'd react to learning that his biggest competitor had stolen his most important prospect using the expertise of the man he'd discarded. That afternoon, I picked Lily up from school and took her out for ice cream to celebrate the Hartley contract. You seem happy, she said, working on a chocolate sundae. I am. Good day at work. Mom seems stressed lately. The divorce is hard on everyone. Is it true what she said about you following her and her friends? I paused with my spoon halfway to my mouth. What exactly did she say? That you've been acting weird since you got fired. Following people, checking her phone, being paranoid. Lily, if your marriage was falling apart, wouldn't you want to understand why? I guess. But she says you're scaring her. Do I scare you? No, but you're different than you used to be. How? Angrier. Like you're always thinking about something that makes you mad. She was right. I had been angry, consumed with thoughts of betrayal and revenge, but I was also fighting for my life, for my relationship with my daughter, for everything that mattered. Sometimes adults have to fight for what's important to them, I said. Is that what you're doing? Yes. Good, because I don't want to lose you. That evening, Chuck Rivers called my cell phone. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to his message. Ben, it's Chuck. I heard about Hartley Industries. We need to talk. This has gone far enough. I deleted the message without responding. Chuck had made his choice when he fired me. Now he could live with the consequences. Around 10 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole to see Hannah Morrison on my front step, looking agitated. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Hannah, what can I do for you? We need to talk, Ben. About what? About this insanity you're putting Fiona through, the accusations, the legal maltreatment, the paranoid behavior. I'm not sure what you mean. You know exactly what I mean. This has to stop. What has to stop? The investigation into Fiona's finances, the demands for psychological evaluations, the vindictive legal maneuvering. I'm just protecting my interests in the divorce. You're destroying a good woman because your pride got hurt. My pride? Chuck fired you because you weren't performing. Instead of accepting responsibility, you're taking it out on everyone around you. I smiled. Is that the story you're all telling yourselves? It's the truth. The truth is that Chuck fired me because I knew too much about his business practices. The truth is that Fiona's been planning this divorce for months while lying to my face. And the truth is that you've been helping her do it. Hannah's face went white. I don't know what you think you know, but I know enough, Hannah, more than enough. You're making a mistake, Ben. A big mistake. Am I? Or am I finally making the right choices? She turned and walked back to her car without another word. As she drove away, I realized that the war had officially begun, and I was ready for it.